Hey guys, Chicky DeMaine, aka Debud, Debud.com with your Debud.com surf forecast update. This surf forecast update brought to you by Angie's Groms, Jacksonville Beach. Get your grub on at the Grom, Angie's Grom. I'd like to start you off this afternoon and taking a look at what's been happening over at near the Panhandle and the northern Gulf Coast. We've got two troughs of low pressure that are ahead of the front here. The first one started moving through Louisiana in the early morning hours, and as you can see, convection fired up quite nicely and moved out towards the Panhandle, but has since been waning. We have a secondary trough of low pressure back over here off Texas, and it's progressing off to the east. This seems to be a little bit more on a southern track than what the models had anticipated, and as a result, we're seeing some winds on the mid-Gulf buoy coming out of the south-southeast that could provide the Panhandle with a little bit bigger bump than initially forecast. As you can see, we got south-southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots with some higher gust, and earlier this morning there were some gusts to near 30 knots. Seas have built up and around near 5 feet. If this can work its way east, or that trough of low pressure get a little deeper that's over Texas, get a little bit deeper in the Gulf, and get a little bit more southeast fetch, you might have a bigger bump coming than what you guys were originally forecast. So stay tuned in on that. Switching back over out here to the Atlantic, let's take a look over here towards Hispaniola. Guys, we started tracking this yesterday. We told you about a trough of low pressure that's set up in here in the Bahamas. As you can clearly see, this is lifting out towards the northeast. And like we talked about yesterday, sometimes when you get these trough of low pressures in the Bahamas, they can develop an east-southeast fetch to give Florida a nice little bump. And what we're seeing right now is evidence of that. Had this developed here a little bit closer to the Bahamas, we might have seen a little bit bigger bump coming for the Wavemasters. I do think that there is going to be a slight bump on Sunday, but it's all up in the air now. Let's take a look at the buoys that give us the indication for that. We'll look at the Northeast Bahama buoy, and looking at the latest data, there's just not any winds on there. The winds are out of the northeast at less than 10 knots, but what the key thing that I'm looking at here is the swell direction. If you notice here, the swell direction was out of the east-northeast, and over the last 5 or 6 postings, we've now switched to the east-southeast. So we've got east-southeast mean wave direction on the Northeast Bahama buoy. So that gives us a little promise. We've then got to go look at the East Bahama buoy to see about the winds that we talked about. And when we look at the East Bahama buoy, look at these winds, guys. This is what I was telling you. If this could have developed a little bit closer to the Northeast Bahama buoy, there definitely would have been a bump coming for Wavemasters this weekend. East winds, 25 to near 30 knots. East-northeast, still with east-northeast swell, but it did give hope that we could have saw a bigger bump coming in for Wavemasters. Taking a look down here towards the Southwest Caribbean, and a key indication that we are very close to tropical cyclone season. When you see convection firing up near the north coast of South America, in here in Central America, and it just basically sits and looks like it's percolating, it is almost time, folks. And in fact, the GFS model in the long range is suggesting that we may see an area of low pressure develop in here over the next 7 to 10 days on the out. But you can kind of see how this may set up. And these type of things, when they develop here, or these type of systems, will likely move off to the next front, waiting for the next front, will likely move off into the Gulf and then recurve towards the Florida coast, or if they form in here, depending on where the front is and how strong, get driven across Cuba and into the Atlantic. So all up in the air now. Please visit our sponsors, Angie's Groms. Tell them you heard it from us. Stay tuned to forecast. Thanks for listening in.